All right, guys, welcome back to our subscriber game. It really is intimidating looking at all those names. I mean, my God, only if only 40% are active players or, actual human players, that's still 200 people, It's a lot of people, and it's probably more than that, um, especially early in the game. But welcome back. So there's some stuff going on, a couple of things I wanted to cover, and something else I'm going to put in my tips and tactics, but I'm going to mention here in this game too, just for those of you who are following this particular series. But before we get to that, let's look at unfortunate Delhi here. Delhi is, you can see, such low morale, which does, I'm almost certain, I can't see. I wish I could since he's an alliance mate, but almost certainly his capital got captured and he's being overrun. So there's really no reason to beat around the bush. Delhi, if you're watching, I'm so sorry that you couldn't get in protected with the group down here, because we haven't had to face anything like what you're facing. I just have friends on both sides of me, and so I've been able to attack in a single direction without having to worry about my flanks. So big apologies to Delhi. You did great, man. But I'm going to go ahead and acknowledge the inevitable. Delhi is going to go down. So Delhi, I'm so sorry. I'm going to go ahead and kick you. And the only reason I'm doing it is that I think there's a chance you're gone anyway. Like, it's hard to tell when the capital's gone, but if I was you, I would have archived this game. If you're still watching, I hope you will continue to watch, because we are your brothers, and we wish the best for you, and we really felt bad. I know I talked to Esperanza and I said, hey, you might be coming in soon. And he said, man, that really sucks. Like, I wish we could have done something for him. So, like, literally all of us feel super bad about that. But having said that, I'm going to go ahead and do the inevitable. Delhi, so sorry, man. You did good for being up there by yourself, man. I would say being at war with 3 people, that's a huge burden. I don't know how that happened, but if we play in the future, try not to do that. Play defensively and wait for us to come to you. But again, hopefully in the future, you can get in a little earlier and be in that pack with the rest of us. So without ado, I'm going to welcome Esperance to our group. Not only is he next in line, you could actually see the date and everything here, so I can tell he was next in line. But not only that, he's been sort of actively involved. He shared vision with all of us early on. And so he's been part of our core group pushing outward anyway. So not only is he next in line, but he's really the natural next person to invite if I was just looking at the map. So great stuff there. I am fighting with Ben Shapiro too here, as well as this guy over here. And this guy is a quandary for me because he's got a fort and 13 guys. So I've got a fort and 8 guys. That's enough to defend against 13 guys should he be foolish enough to attack me. But, uh-oh. And he's just waiting up there. Oh, that's somebody else. Who's that? That's Broom. That's Ben Shapiro II. Huh. Okay, and then this is as I thought. Geraldton went ahead and captured the other double fish. That's why I didn't even bother to send them up there. This much time in enemy territory is like 25 years. It takes so long because you're moving at 1/3 speed through enemy territory. We've talked about that in some of my other videos, but the assumption is as you're moving through enemy territory, you have to assume that the local population is sabotaging you, cutting telegraph wires, possibly destroying roads. And then just not to mention the fact that you don't know the territory. This is World War I. You didn't necessarily have good maps. So it makes good sense. And it's just a cool strategic thing that you have to consider. It's one of the things we've talked about is once you have armored cars, and if you know a territory is empty, you run in your armored cars because they're much faster. Take the territory. That's given that you've already bombed it out or that you know it's empty. And then once they take it, all your slower units go back to normal speed, which is in effect tripling their speed. If you're at 1/3 speed, it's super slow. Get someone in there to capture it and go back to your normal speed. Okay, so I've managed to attack over. My goal here is just to keep attacking west. I want to leave as much territory for my allies on this side, leaving the north, the rest of this package, so to speak here, I'm kind of leaving for Gascoigne and Geraldton. And I know Albany has been coming up here into this area. So here's the first bee in our bonnet. is Jeffy. Jeffy reminds me of, I can't help but think about 21 Jump Street. My name's Dave. My name's Jeffy. So here's Jeffy. God damn it, Jeffy. Jeffy comes in, and this really pissed off Albany, because Albany, he strikes in with large groups, and of course the AI rushes a lot of stuff over there to defend, and he has to actually lose some guys as he attacks in because the AI rushed everything, and then here comes Jeffy in the back door to snatch a province here. So that is unfortunate, but it's not the end of the world. It really isn't. Jeffy's doing pretty good here. Let's just see what he's got. Dang it! I used to be you could click on that to get to player information. He's got 12, so he's right around where we're at. I believe I've got 15. Some of my allies have 14 and 13, so 12. Not bad, Like if I had an extra slot, I'd offer it to him, but I don't. I still have 2 other people waiting patiently to get in case something else happens. So sorry, Jeffy. As we make our way over towards you, eventually things are going to come to a head. So what I'm thinking is I have another territory right here that has no fort on it, and I can take it without blocking the eastward path of my westward allies. So I'm going to go ahead and attack into there with this full 17. And you might say, hey, there is an avenue of approach. Why are you leaving this naked? I'm leaving it naked because exactly it's so far away. So he can't see. He does have outer vision to that. So honestly, it would be a good idea to leave one guy there. So as you know, outer vision, no matter what, there's no fort here, but it's a question mark. Notice that? I'm sorry, most of you guys probably know this, but because it's in that outer ring of vision, all you know is that somebody is there. Now, once we get to within the inner ring of vision, I can see how many people are there. But for now, I know that the opposite applies to him. And so even though this is a level 1 fort, he also can only see me with outer vision. So all he knows is it's a question mark. So if he knows there's someone there and there's a fort there, he can see there's a fort there, he won't attack. So you have to make these decisions about what to leave behind. I did make a tips and tactic about what to leave behind. And, some people lose in that calculation. They leave too little stuff behind, and then they get their homeland invaded, or they get cut off from their resupply and reinforcements. So you just be real careful, and you have to take risks. I'm taking a risk here by only leaving one guy here. But that's okay. I think it's going to be all right. So I'm going to take this, and then I'm going to think about moving eastward even more. But what this will do is give me access to this non-fort territory and this non-fort territory. And a lot of times what will happen is you'll attack a non-fort territory, and he'll run guys at you from his fort, thus reducing his overall defensive posture. He's better off with 15 guys in a fort than he is with 7 guys in a fort, right? You can overwhelm 7 guys in a fort if you've got, a decent amount. I like to have more than twice going into a level 1 fort. If I have more than twice, I feel pretty good about that. Even then, I'd rather have 3 times the amount. Okay, so that's about it. Over here, San Borneo, Java, have informed me that they've joined a coalition of some of our other subscribers, and I think that's a great idea. So, any of my other subscribers, if you're out in the cold right now, feel free to join a coalition. When you're next, and that's all there is to it. We'll wait for the cooldown, so don't worry about that. I believe there is a 3-day cooldown for you to go from one coalition to another. And I got to say, I could even envision there being 2 subscriber coalitions in competition with each other. I'm okay with that too. This is only a game. People get really butthurt or freaked out about it, but ultimately it's just a fun game. Again, I've mentioned sometimes I'll lose and I'll just be like, dude, good game. You did good. I'm going to march all my guys out into the ocean. Come take my stuff. You earned it, So, let's try not to get too injured about stuff. But I will say this coalition has worked really well together. In my another 500 coalition, I had 2 players really flame out over what they thought was theirs. And And then I've played other games. I had one game where a guy attacked me because he perceived that I took something out from under him, and I was like, dude, we were both going for it. Like, what do you mean? We're in the same coalition. We're both going for the same territory, and I just got there first. Like, what's the deal? And then he attacked me, and it's like, okay, now we're gonna lose. Great, attack your own coalition, mate. That's wonderful. But this coalition has been really cooperative so far. I know um, there's been sharing between the various coalition members, which I think is super cool, super great. I do know that there's Melbourne. Melbourne. One of my Aussie friends taught me how to say it. Not Melbourne, Melbourne. It's Melbourne. All right, so that's it for this particular thing. We're doing great. You can see everything's going good. It's nice to have Esperance completely in the fold now, secure within the coalition. Now we can really coordinate and work well together. I think in this game, you can give territories to other coalition members, but not to people outside your coalition. I'm not sure about that, but I know I've gifted coalition members territories before in these 500-player games. So that's certainly an option, especially if somebody's sitting on 2 double foods. You might want to hold on to it because that's a good thing to be able to sell. So I'm not telling anybody anything, but if somebody's starving in our coalition, we can actually gift over some of those options. You can see I'm still not fully self-sufficient, and I might be able to dial in my energy. It's close though, 74 against 86 plus. So I'll fiddle with that off screen here with my resources and try to dial that in. But one last thing I wanted to show you, and then we're out of here, is this has been something I've wondered about from the very beginning. And I haven't been able to find anything in the official documentation about it. And that is like, look, factories are great. They increase your production, right? Like you can build every level factory, you can build better stuff. But even better, they increase your production of the resources by 8% per level. So that once you're up to level 4 factory, whatever your base number is gets increased by 33%. So of course, 8 times 4 is 32, but they're nice and they give you that extra 1%. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's fractions the whole time. Maybe it's 8.25%. How about that per level? But anyway, it's 33% bonus production, which is super great. But what I've always wondered, like literally from like the first week I played, is like, shouldn't a level 2 factory produce stuff faster? It's just a bigger, more efficient. You assume you have more workers there. Why isn't it making stuff faster? And, this game is so slow in real time, it's hard to keep track of that kind of stuff. But I found something. And by the way, shout out to my viewer who mentioned this in the comments. And I dug through the comments before this to try to find him so I could shout out by name. And I couldn't find the comment. So if you're the person who told me about this, please let me know in the comments below so I can mention you in a future video, because this is huge for me. This is really huge for me. So I went ahead and dug through and finally found this. Now, this is under the Supremacy 1914 wiki. I don't know how trusted it can be, but I love it. Look at this. So we're looking at workshop and factory. So workshop 1 and 2, and then factory 1 through 4. So that's what the columns are here. So I love this. Cavalry, if you've only got a level 1 workshop, of course you have to have a level 1 factory as well. It takes 2 days. And then level 2 workshop, it takes 1 day. Level 1 factory, no difference. Then to 12 hours, then to 8, then to 6. This is huge for me. This is really big. I mean, if you think about it, you go from 2 days, 48 hours for a cavalry, to 6 hours. I mean, that's staggering. It really is. That's a huge, huge difference. Okay, same thing with armored car, but now let's look at the units that we really care about. Artillery, when you're first able to build them, costs 4 days. I know this because that's really the crucial beginning game unit that you got to have to bust those bunkers, right? So I know 4 days. I've seen 4 days and been like, oh boy, and then it's another 3 days to get it to the front, But as soon as you get it to level 2, it halves that. Oh my God. Guys, build a level 2 factory. Sometimes I struggle between, should I build a level 2 factory or a railway next? because I know a level 2 is only going to increase my production by 8%, my resource production by 8%. And I know a railroad will increase my production by 33%. So I often will go ahead after building a level 1 factory, and I'm starting my cannon here, I'll build a railway. That might still be okay to do, but with this new information, I don't know, man. Like half the time, that's shocking, ladies and gentlemen. Like that's with one level, you're halving. Well, think of it this way: you're doubling the number of artillery you're going to have in the future. A lot of us start with 2 double resource tiles, so I usually start with 2 factories. I always build my production stuff on factory tiles, just because again, you have a larger base number. That increased percentage gives you a larger amount of increase. But so whatever number of factories you have, you'll be churning out twice the number if you bump them up to level 2. This is big stuff. Level 3 gives you a slightly less huge advantage, but still, I mean, this is, what is that, a day and a quarter, right? From 2 days down to a day and a quarter, and then down to 1 day. So I mean, come on, guys, or a day and 1/3. Sorry, guys. I mean, and then down to 1 day. That's just like, wow. From 4 days to 1 day. I mean, that's just shockingly great. Tanks, same thing. Let's just scan down here because this is just good information to have. You can find this wiki yourself, by the way, of course. But it's worthwhile talking about. This is something I've been playing now for about a year, and this is I always wondered. I thought it should be this way. It makes sense, but I've never known for sure. So yeah, all of this stuff. I mean, honestly, tank goes from 3 days to at the highest level half that time. 1 day, 12 hours, 1.5 days. Balloon, who cares? I make a balloon sometimes and send it to the border of an enemy, or not an enemy, but somebody I'm standing off against, just as like an intimidation ploy or something, but it doesn't seem to ever do anything for me. Fighter, this is huge. It goes from 3 days to 1.5 days. That's really a big advantage. This is good stuff, man. Light cruiser goes from 4 days to 1 day. So it's the same metrics as the cannon. That also is huge, though, man. You could be churning out those cruisers. Sometimes when I play, I'll play the Americas, and what I try to do is take over all of Canada and all of America and maybe even Greenland, and then I just line the coast with factories and harbors and just churn out the light cruisers. But now what I know is that I usually just leave them as level 1 factories. Now I know at least I should take them up to level 2. This is the biggest jump here from 4 to 2. You double the number. Right. And then, and then it's a pretty big jump from 2 to 4, but that's 2 levels you have to build. So if, we're dealing with limited resources, but I know in the future now, I really need to make sure all of those are level 2. And then instead of having, 12 cruisers per cycle, I'll have 24 cruisers. That's a huge difference. And like I say, I line the whole coast with factories and harbors because honestly, I have tried, maybe it's different for y'all, but like all of Europe and the Middle East and Western Asia that's in that game, once a dominant group starts taking over that whole area, it's hard to fight them. Even if you've got all of the Americas, it's hard. It's difficult to fight them. And it's really difficult to get a beachhead because they'll have bombers. And it sucks. It sucks trying to make an aquatic, what do they call it, amphibious landing against bombers, because they can just rain down on you while you're still out at sea, and there's really not much you can do about it. Anyway, thanks for checking in. Big difference with battleships, 4 days to 3 days. Battleships take forever, so go ahead and build that level 4. If you ever wonder why should I build a level 4 other than that last 8% on my resource production, here's why. Each one of these is a significant improvement. So anyway, thanks for hanging in there for that. This is huge information for me. I'm going to make a separate video specifically. I wish I hadn't closed that tab, specifically about this right away and put it under tips and tactics so that it can be located under a different playlist, because that's important enough to put over there. But anyway, thanks for checking in, guys. Things are going good. I can see I have some more messages, but I'll check them off camera. And thanks for checking in, guys. Adios, amigos.